Welcome to Candy Square's Many Hats. This is a YouTube channel dedicated to people who, like me, wear so many hats and good hats in terms of the things and activities that they get involved in. So, if you're like me and there are many activities you get involved in, and not just poorly, but very well, then come join me. This is what I've got to say. Thanks for tuning in. What you're about to see is a short clip from a session I did with Sean Watson, a recruiter in the resilience industry. And this is going to be part one of a clip that I show you, which was basically a pre webinar discussion we had about trends in resilience industry. And I really wanted to kind of do a bit of a vibe check because we were going to be speaking on a webinar together. So that's what you're about to see. Hopefully, you enjoy it.
I think nowadays there's so much learning available to us, not saying online, but there's so much of information out there. It's really up to you. You need to take it on yourself and really identify where you want to be. Everyone has different career paths. Some people, they're focused on continuity. That's what they enjoy doing. They want to stick in the business continuity area. Others may want to look into broadening their scope. And yeah, they're going to need to take it upon themselves to look at. I'm not going to put it on the BCI or any of the organizations who try to come up with something to help them do that. You need to do that yourself. It's your career. No one can manage your career but you. So you have to figure out where you want to go. What do you enjoy doing? Some people don't enjoy the operational resiliency. They prefer doing the continuity piece of it. Some people prefer, hey, I just want to do third party. I just want to do this. I don't want to do that. And so once you identify where you want to be, then focus that area. But if you do want to grow your career, I think the operational resilience is definitely an interesting area. You can go there, or some people go into more of a risk-based role as well. So you just have to figure out where you want to go, and then kind of, what's the old book, Choose Your Own Adventure books.
Yeah.
So, hey, this is where I want to go, and you may go down that path, and it may not be what you wanted, and you can, hey, let's just pivot this way. But it's really comes down to where you want to do and where you want to be. And I think there's a lot of paths there. There's a lot of, I always tell folks, one of the interesting things about continuity or resilience in general is that you get that 50,000 foot level view of an organization. So you see how everything interacts. So you may be, you know what, I'm tired of continuity, but I like my firm. Maybe you have relationships in all these different areas. So you want to pivot to something completely different. Hey, I want to go to a product management role. I want to go over here. I'm in banking. Hey, I want to try trading. You have those relationships and you understand how business works. So it's easier for you to maybe pivot into one of those other roles because of that 50,000 foot level view you have of the organization.
Yeah. Exactly what you're saying. As business continuity practitioners, we can work with managers, heads of, directors across the whole organization.
Yes.
I can't really think of a comparative role that has that level of reach, that has that level of, I like to refer to as a cloutiness, that you can speak and speak to heads of, you can speak to people on the ground, you can get a perspective of where you need to grow and challenge. And having been like a business continuity practitioner and changed jobs quite a few times, staying in one job, you've actually learned so much about how the business operates.
Yes.
And that's the skills that's needed. If you, as you're saying, if you wanted to transition into something, you could find out everything about it. You could identify a single point of failure and be like, I'm going to learn a bit about that, and position yourself to have that position ready, which I think is really interesting. I think, as practitioners, sometimes we don't think about opportunity management and career development in the same breath. I mean, it's April at the minute, so probably the same for you. It's performance time, and we're not thinking big picture of, when I'm developing my new objectives, am I thinking about the opportunities that exist across the organization, the skills that I have, and how I compare those two things together?
In the book, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But in the real world, you get this crisis happens. It goes 1, 4, 3, 8, 10, 12, back to 2. It doesn't follow a certain order. Yeah, so you have to be able to be flexible and be able to think quickly on your feet. And without the experience, you may not be able to do that. Not saying you can't do it, but it's be more a little more challenging for you to. But you have all this book knowledge, and it's supposed to go a certain way, and you trying to fit a crises into a box that it's not going to fit into.
I mean, I tell everyone I'm chasing my fellowship, and
which is great.
But it's a personal objective rather than
yes.
a professional one. It's because I want to be the best of the best, validated by the best.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, last week I passed my ISO recertification. This is the first time I've been part of a program. Thank you. First time I've been part of the program where we actually wanted to have our whole program certified, and that had more professional value to me than my personal fellowship date. So it's actually really interesting that even as someone who's really happy about my certification journey, I still found something that I felt added more value to my resume. I just think when I see job descriptions, they're just so they're just so
Yeah.
Do you think when we see job descriptions that are using historic language for business continuity and operational resilience roles, we should recognize that that organization is not living in the present, and should we use that to impact if we decide we want to work there? That's a hard question.
That is a great question. That is something that could definitely happen. Oftentimes I think job descriptions are just kind of reused, and they're very old, and they maybe tweak a couple, add some new language to it, and just repost it. The challenge is that oftentimes HR, recruitment, and internal HR have zero idea of what you do as a business resilience professional, and they no fault of theirs, they don't have the time to understand it. They have so much stuff going on that you tell, hey, I need a business continuity person, an analyst, and they, in their mind, okay, they go to their database of job descriptions and they pull out something and they post a job. I had one client recently that they had an operational resilience role posted, but it was a business continuity job description because the recruiter did not look and just posted the wrong job description. And so stuff like that happens. I think a lot of it's just so much stuff going on. So some organizations are still very kind of that archaic mindset, and they'll just change the title to operational resilience when the job is still business continuity. They don't know the difference. And when it goes back to us earlier, sometimes as an industry, we have not always done a good job of telling the difference between the two, and really socializing and publicizing the difference between the two. So a lot of times they'll use those words interchangeably. I've seen organizations, they just, their whole continuity program is now resilience. And it's just a title change. Nothing really changed. So
100%.
You need to ask the right questions and then listen. You'll be surprised how many red flags you'll hear from just listening and observing, or you'll have these orange flags that could turn red. But sometimes we're in a position, we're interviewing for a job, we just kind of blaze right past them and don't think about it until it's too late. Then you get the job, and then 2 weeks in, you realize, they did say this during the interview, and now I'm stuck because I have to deal with this now. Or now I'm back on the market looking for a new role because I blazed past this orange flag that's now turned red.
You know what? You've given me a really good kind of opportunity. I do.
Okay.
I consider myself to be a little bit of a culture specialist. I'm not a job hopper, let me add that in there. But I have changed jobs quite a few times in the last couple of years, but I did have a child, so that's fine. But I actually see, and maybe this is me playing a little bit of devil's advocate, I actually see a bad job description as a really good opportunity. As someone who likes a bit of friction, I like the thick of it, the spiciness of it, I see it as a really good opportunity for if I'm a person confident in changing organizational culture, to get some good quick wins. If I wanted a bit of hard work, if I wanted that, I love coming into an organization that is doing it absolutely all wrong. It's just awful.
Yeah.
And changing it, especially if it's a position that's at management level or head of level, and you get the ability to redefine what business continuity means to a whole organization. This is like a massive section of like our ISO standards and like what business continuity about, that whole embedding. If you get a chance to kind of interview, convince whoever's hiring you that they are wrong about business continuity, and you are, as a business continuity evangelist, you are willing to convert them to the right path. And I think it's interesting. So I do definitely take your point.
On the flip side, though, a lot of organizations will say that they want to change, but then you get in there and they do not want to change. And even just as far as industry trends, don't stay focused. Just if you're in manufacturing, don't just talk to other manufacturing professionals. Get on these calls, these webinars, and learn how it's done in finance, learn how it's done in tech, learn how it's done and that's going to really, is one thing, that's that innovation. You're learning how, because the way that tech does something is different from the way you do it in manufacturing, and the way finance does something is different than how you do it in tech. So there may be a lot of similarities, but there's also a lot of differences. And then now you're able to pull best practices from a tech firm, best practices from a finance firm, find ways to bring those into your manufacturing firm.
Practitioners at BCI, well, I think it seems like it's difficult in some senses to be able to look at your skills and compare them to other areas. I don't know if that's specifically like maybe a trend I'm seeing more with women, or maybe they're not getting the right kind of feedback from their managers that are allowing them to see that skills being very transitional, or maybe they're not seeing the need to challenge themselves outside of the challenges they already experience within an organization. Why look for more problems? But I think it's one of those things where like it is for the benefit of those who are feeling perhaps marginalized in this industry, or perhaps a minority within the industry, to work hard to be smart in the way they're approaching career development, instead of working hard to be on this, like, to be the same as someone else. Because sometimes you're winning based on how good your research is versus being simply better than someone else. So I think it's an easy way for me to understand that there are ways to compete with other individuals you may find are dominating certain areas, and other age groups that are dominating. There are ways to compete that could be based on how much effort we're putting into the research we're doing associated with our career development.
So you've made it to the end of the video. Oh, how exciting. Thanks again for dialing in and joining me on this little exploration journey. I've had fun, of course. That's the whole point. Hopefully you have too. So drop a comment below or send me a message, and do connect with me on my socials. I'm doing a lot on LinkedIn all the time. So send me a message. All my socials are in the description below. But thanks for dialing in. Cheers. Bye.